Thank you for inviting me for this meeting, all the organizers. The opportunity to come here and talk about spraying application is being very good because I've been to Uruguay recently and they have a very strong spray application business as we have here in Argentina, and also getting together Uruguay, Argentina and Brazil. We have a very strong fleet of aircrafts, really useful for treating crops and doing all the jobs that we can do with the aircraft in the agriculture. So I am from São Paulo State University, and my first approach will be to explain a little bit of the evolution of the spraying application or agriculture application in Brazil. We have a business that is growing every year. We have now more than 200 companies spraying across the country. It is kind of a 6% growth every year. We've got the second larger fleet in the world. We only the second for to the United States, and farmers are privately investing a lot on aircrafts. On the past 3 years, 50% of the aircrafts are being sold directly to farmers and not for spraying companies. And right now, we've got more than 30% of the aircrafts belonging to private farmers. So it's a lot of investment and a lot of interest on aerial spraying. We do just about 25% of all sprays by aerial, what is a very good market share. And we do spray more than 70 million hectares every year by aircraft, so it's big business for Brazil too. But we are growing, but we are having a lot of trouble because air application is being under pressure because of environmental issues related to drift, related to the way media is seeing and is marketing air application, like they do with all the things related to chemicals as an average. There are a lot of conflicts between the agricultural aviation industry and environmental groups, and they are trying to seek or to impose a lot of restrictions for this market, and that's why we decided to go for something more to the approach of sustainability on managing this kind of application. That's why we developed in Brazil the certification program. This certification that is called Sustainable Agricultural Aviation Certification is one of the ways we are trying to give a response for the environmentalists that are trying to impose restrictions for the aero application industry. That is a certification program that gives them a very good idea of how we can do application with an eye on the sustainability and on the responsibility. This program, it works like a general certification program, but it is managed by a non-profit organization. It's a foundation linked to state universities, my university and another two in the country. So besides being a private program, it is managed by a state university, so it sounds good for the market. We, as a private operation, we count on certification fees and a very important budget that comes from the industry, the chemical industry, through UNDEF. The primary focus of this certification project is trying to give a very deep perspective of the concept of responsibility on the application. The idea is to show how to spray and reduce risks, mainly risks of drift, but thinking about, as a general view, on reducing risks of any kind of environmental impact. The system, it runs in steps, so every operator, it doesn't matter, is a private operator, a farmer, for instance, that got an aircraft, or a company that sprays as a commercial activity. They have to go through 3 steps. On the first level, the first step, the idea is to have a kind of a legal certification. So to make sure that all the operations are done looking at laws and regulations and all documents and so on. So at this step, all the operations are asked to go through a website to provide all the documents and all the proofs that their operation complies to all the legislation. And the objective is to certify that operation complies with all the regulations. On a second level, we go through a course, like a way for give them qualification for all the good practices, procedures for them to spray using that good practice ideas. So the certification will be achieved by those operators that go through the course and have all the steps done. That course gives a lot of information and procedures related to good practices on spraying application by aircrafts. And after doing the course, on the third step, we start to do the certification of the equipment, facilities, and procedures, looking at the good practices for air application. So this third step is the real way of evaluating the compliance with the good practices. All the items are expected during technical visits to the companies, where we have to look at kind of a checklist, looking at equipment, looking at spraying methods, the way they spray, looking at potential problems on drift, neighboring areas, restricted areas, or any kind of problem that could arise because of misunderstanding ways of reducing drift or drift reduction technologies or so on. So even the management of the operation is evaluated on that checklist, so we can when a company is on the level number 3, the top level of the certification, we can be sure that they are spraying using all the good practices, the procedures, and mainly they are spraying with an eye on the environmental side of the spraying. So we think that's a good way of making the operators think about drift and environmental problems before spraying, not after spraying. Not when they got problems, but before they got problems. So that's a way of reducing risks in a general view for the application with aircrafts. We started it in 2014. We have right now 39 companies on the level number 1 all across the country in several states. We also have 40 companies out 232 on the level number 2. Level number 2 is the one that they already got the course, so they know how to spray using the good practices. And we do have 3 companies flying on the level number 3. So they are doing all the steps on good practices for before spraying. That means looking at neighboring areas, taking care of all the security of the environmental side of the application, looking at possible conflicts with neighboring areas or any kind of target that drifts can be on. So it's a way of reducing the risk of the operation. One thing that's important that we achieved in 1.5 years, 38% market share in the operators, the companies that sprays as a commercial activity. And for us in Brazil, the support from the sugarcane mills was very important. If you look at the states in Brazil, São Paulo and Goiás, that are the states where the sugarcane crop is very important. We achieved more than 60, 70%, 75% in São Paulo state of the companies are running on the certification program. And the sugar mills are not employing companies that are not on the certification program. So it's been very welcome from the producers' side, and the companies are going into the program thinking that that's a good way of showing everybody that they are doing with good practices. We think that using such an approach as a certification program, we are giving a good response, a good answer for the society, a reply, in order to show that we can do, yes, we can do spray with aircrafts without giving problems to the environment, without drift or reducing really the risk. As a good practice, the certification is becoming an important step for the spray operation by aero, and mainly for a way to keep this business running against the organizations that are trying to impose restrictions for the application. If somebody wants to have more information, you can go to the website that is on the screen, and also contact us at university. We would be very happy to show you more information and more detail on how it works. There is a lot of information on equipment, on methods that they have to use, special GPS device, tracking of the aircrafts, laser devices for adjusting the height of the application, good practices on adjusting buffer zones, and so on. So there's a lot of information. In 15 minutes is not possible to show everything, but we would be very happy to show you if you want. Okay? Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'll be okay with some questions. Thank you.